Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Grappler Man's videos. I thought I would do a video this week on my observations and suggestions for anyone who's new that wants to start this game. Some things that I learned over the last year and a half of playing. I realize everybody plays differently, so I'm not telling you this is the best way to do it, but there are a few things, housekeeping things I might say, that I feel like new players and experienced players probably should do to get the best experience in Odyssey. So, without further ado, let's get into it. But don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm growing slowly but surely, and I love the game and want to continue making positive videos for it. So, like, subscribe, spread the word, help me out. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, let's start with bases. At each base, you're going to find a few places that you should check every time you go to one, and a few important things to do. So let's take a walk through a basic base. Most bases are laid out like this, but there are about 3 or 4 different types. This is a pretty common one. Don't forget to say hi to the nice people that you're going to meet along the way. This first place here is the Apex Shuttle. You can use this and never have a ship if you don't want to, and you can take this all around the galaxy as long as there's a base. The very first thing that I do at every base I go to, especially as an early game player, is I go to Pioneer. And this is where you can upgrade your weapons, buy suits, upgrade your suits, and get some consumables. You always want to check this because sometimes, especially on Thursdays after the tick, you can open up the selection and you can find modified and engineered suits and weapons that saves you a lot of trouble with the material grind. The next place I would head to is the bartender. Now the bartender is basically a place where you can trade and sell material. The most important thing that I would say I found out is that you fill up your backpack and your ship storage capacity pretty quickly. There's a 1,000 unit limit, and if you're collecting things left and right, you're going to have to do some selling and modifying. One thing that I've learned to do is to go to the bartender and sell all of my smaller materials for the larger materials that cost more, such as graphene, and that allows me to clear out my backpack, and if I need the smaller materials later, then I will go ahead and trade them in. So as you can see, graphene costs 23 units, and some of these others are a lot less. So if you were to trade in graphene, or trade in the other things for graphene, you use graphene as a storage. For trade circuits, you would use microelectrodes because it's worth 16 units, or circuit boards, or electromagnets. Those are usually pretty good. And for tech, you would want to use weapon components, carbon fiber, or something like that. Now, I generally don't trade these as much up, but now you can see you can do it. You can see a carbon fiber is worth 6 for a trade, and weapon components worth 10. You can see that they're slightly different, but it does save a lot of room in your backpack if you do this. Let me give you an example. Okay, let's suppose I need oxygenetic bacteria. So I would go get graphene, which is worth 13, and I would trade in 1. You'll notice its value is 13. That would allow me to get 2 units of bacteria for 1 unit of graphene. So instead of carrying the bacteria around in my backpack, I could cut that space in half by simply storing my material as graphene and then trading down later. That's quite a space saver, which is important in Odyssey, especially if you don't have a carrier. If you do, you can take that stuff and put it on the bartender and store it there and sell it to other people who want to use it, which is really useful. Another place that you want to check sometimes if you want to change your ships is Intra Astra right here, which is where you will go and do all your ship stuff, just like Shipyard. And this is Vista Genomics, which is where you would turn in Discovery Day things that you would find when you're scanning on planets. And this is Frontline, where you would join up for conflicts, and this is where you can really rank up fast if you join conflicts. I'm trying to get elite in combat first, and it goes really quickly if you do a lot of combat zones. Next, there are mission givers. These are folks that have little blue symbols over their head, and if you go up and talk to them, they'll offer you some missions. Now, if you have a bounty on you or notoriety and you can't get missions off the board, you can always get the missions off of these guys. You can also negotiate prices with them. You can see if it's got a material that you want. If it doesn't, or a price that you want, and if it doesn't, you can always ask to negotiate with them, and you can refuse or accept. These are useful when you're looking for those hard to find materials. All right, let's move on to settlements, which is what Odyssey is all about, on foot gameplay. What you want to do is find an anarchy system, and you can go through the map. If you can't find an anarchy system, look for an anarchy faction through the system map, and then go to the bases that the anarchy system controls. I found it best to start your gameplay in these kind of systems so that way you will not acquire notoriety. Notoriety is very prevalent in Odyssey. When I played Horizon, I never got it, and now if I go to a base and I kill somebody I shouldn't, I will get it very quickly, and you'll have to burn it off. Okay, let's talk about the suits. Now, I did a video early on about the suits, which I will link in the description below. However, when I first saw the suits, I wanted the Dominator because it had extra weapons. But in truth, what you need to do first is improve your Maverick suit to as high a grade as you can. You can do the whole game in Maverick except for collecting bio data as an explorer, in which case you will need the Artemis suit. So the order in which you should fulfill your suits in my brain is Maverick, Artemis, Dominator. And then the same thing with weapons. You can pick the weapon of your choice. I prefer plasma weapons, so the sniper rifle is one of the best ones to have, and the Tormentor pistol. With those two, you can do anything you want combat-wise on the ground in this game. Of course, there are a lot of other fun weapons, but if you just want to be efficient and be successful, I would suggest those. My next suggestion is to use ED Materials Helper. It's a third-party software, sort of like Inara, but it's very, very, very useful for Odyssey. You can see the different settlement types, and you can find the locations of the settlement alarms and the authorization scanners, which are the two things you want to turn off if you want to avoid a lot of large-scale conflict with these folks in the early game. The reason I advocate the Maverick suit for the gameplay is because of this cutting tool. I use it all the time to go to the back side of a building when there's no one around and cut open the panel and then override the lock so that I can get in. I don't prefer to walk around and sneak up and scan the ID off of somebody. Although you can do that, it's tough to do without getting caught, and this is much faster. Another thing you can do is to find the habitat buildings that are usually have a 0 code. Go in there and find somebody who might have some kind of a ranking, like this guy has a 1, and you can kill him and take it from him. The next suggestion is to make sure you know the locations of these little energy panels right here, and the health panels, and the energy buttons that you can recharge your shields from, as well as the ammo boxes, because these are very, very important, and you need to use them as often as possible. One of the most common mistakes is for people to not have extra energy and extra healing packs with them, and they get into a firefight and then they are stalled. You don't have to worry about these scans if you don't have any illegal material that you stole or if you have any bounties on you. One of the ways that you can avoid them is to simply pull out your weapon, point it at them, they'll tell you to put it away, and then they won't scan you. Or if you're outside, you can make a big jump as you see them coming and they won't scan. These terminals are also useful for helping you identify people that you have to assassinate for assassination missions, or people you have to locate for delivery missions. Also, if you have some IDs stolen and you have the right level, you can also locate the settlement alarms and such and such. But if you're using the OMG software, which I've linked in the description, it will tell you exactly where all the important parts of the settlement are. The whole point of going to a settlement really is to open up these storage containers to grab the materials. Know which materials you need and grab them as often as possible. Some of them are easy to open like that. Some require you to use the cutting tool, which is why, again, I suggest you use the Maverick suit. Make sure you open the 3 engineers that Odyssey uses. I have a link below in my description to a video I made on that. Once you get the engineers open, you want to grade 5 your suit as soon as possible, and then you want to go and have some fun. When you're fighting in the settlement, it's also useful to use the roofs to go from place to place, and get audio masking and noise reduction as your first 2 modifications. And then I would suggest magazine size. Once you get your pistol up to grade 5 or at least grade 4, it's a 2-shot kill for most of these people, even with their shields up. So it's highly recommended that you concentrate on one suit and one set of weapons before you try to do them all. Last but not least, always try to get a grade 3 level from somebody at the settlement, and then don't forget to go and take the power regulator. Those things are very important, and you can never have enough. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously, there's lots of ways to play this game. These are just some observations and suggestions that I've seen as I've played through this thing for a year. And I hope to see you out there, guys. For now, Grappler Man, out.